Good morning. Nice. My name is Sue Farnlocker. My pronouns are she, her, they, and I'm happy to serve on your board of trustees, even though I can't find my name tag. I always know where that is. Anyway, I'm a fairly tall, white, 75-year-old woman with glasses and varying shades of red and gray hair. Our speakers provide brief visual descriptions for those who are visiting. We describe ourselves to increase inclusivity for people with visual impairments and for those who may be listening rather than watching. Welcome. For those in person, please take a moment to silence your cell phones. I can't believe we have to go back to that. If this is your first time here, we have a visitor gift for you at the greeter stand, and a volunteer will be available in Beach Hall after the service to share getting to know you information. Please use the QR code on the screen to access a digital order of service, or take a paper one, and we recycle the covers and learn more about who we are. Come find me or another board member in Beach Hall. You'll know who we are with the ribbon attached to our name tag, if you can find yours. And we'll be in Beach Hall, which is our fellowship hall, which you leave here and turn left at the wide doors. So today, there's an artist reception after the service with snacks. Join our first UU artists. These are all works of members, to discuss what matters, that's the title of the show, and to enjoy conversation and snacks and art at 12:15 back here in the worship center. Or gallery. Does anybody know where they're gathering? Both. Gotcha. Now, Peace Pals is having its first rehearsal today at 12:30 in here, and they will be, their kids from 5 to 10 years old are welcome in Peace Pals. And they rehearse on the first and third Sunday of each month. See Aaron Rothert. Is Aaron in the worship center? Or Amber Scott for more details. And the caregivers group begins meeting online starting Monday, October 7th at 7 p.m. Claire Freed, do you want to stand up, Claire, please? Or Reverend Kelly to sign up. And for more information, for more information. Now, we invite you to rise, and we're going to sing our first opening hymn, number 407 in the gray hymnal. Thank you.
Sit at the welcome table. We're gonna sit at the welcome table one of these days, hallelujah. We're gonna sit at the welcome table. Gonna sit at the welcome table one of these days. All kinds of people around that table. All kinds of people around the table one of these days, hallelujah. All kinds of people around that table, gonna sit at the welcome table one of these days. No fancy style at the welcome table. No fancy style at the welcome table one of these days, hallelujah. No fancy style at the welcome table. Gonna sit at the welcome table one of these days.
Good morning. I'm the Reverend Dr. Teresa Cooley. I'm privileged to serve as your developmental minister. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a woman in her early 60s wearing a blue dress and a green stole, and I have silver hair. Very happy to have you with us this morning. We begin this service by acknowledging that we gather on land stolen from the Wyandotte, Miami, Seneca, Erie, Shawnee, Delaware, and Cayuga people. many of whom were forcibly removed from Ohio. We support the Native American Indian Center of Central Ohio with their Land Back NACO campaign, and we know that we have more to do as a community to be in solidarity and true relationship with this land and those indigenous to it.
Good morning. I am the Reverend Meg McGuire. My pronouns are she, her, and I am grateful to serve as an affiliated community minister of this congregation. I am a white woman in my 30s with shoulder-length blonde hair, wearing a green shirt and stole. Let us enter into the spirit of worship with these opening words from the Sufi poet Jalal al-Din Muhammad Rumi. This being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival. A joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all. Even if they are a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture, still, treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whatever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from the beyond. Now, in the spirit of welcoming, if this is your first time here at First UU, if you're comfortable, we would love for you to rise just so we can acknowledge your presence here with us. Yay. Welcome. Awesome. We are so glad you're here. Now I invite everyone else to rise, and while our children meet Amber in the back and prepare to bring in the light, greet your neighbor, introduce yourself.
It is now time for the children to bring in the light. So great to see you all here this morning. We light our chalice with these words from Anastasie Baroche. As we light this flame of hope, may our congregation become a kaleidoscope of souls and of people. In the presence of this flame, in me, in you, in us, is an invitation to sit at the table. May we tend our soul fire through these challenging and trying times to open the hearts and minds of all who enter our doors.
Thank you, Junie, for your help lighting our chalice this morning. Good morning. I'm Amber Scott, your Director of Religious Exploration, and my pronouns are she, they. I'm a white femme millennial with chaotic, wavy brunette hair, and I am wearing a shirt that proclaims that Unitarian Universalism supports trans folks. Today's story is called Amy Wu and the Warm Welcome, written by Kat Zhang and illustrated by Charlene Chua. When Amy arrives at school, Ms. Mary has a wonderful surprise, a new student. "This is Lin," says Ms. Mary. "He moved here from China. Can everyone give him a big, warm welcome?" "Welcome, Lin," says Amy's class. Lin grins and opens his mouth. Then he shuts it again. His cheeks glow red. For lunch, Lin eats dumplings and tangerines. "I'm having a dumpling party tonight," Amy says. "Did you make those?" Lin smiles, but doesn't reply. During playtime, Amy invites Lin aboard her pirate ship. He puts on a hat, but doesn't sing yo-ho. During show and tell, Amy picks Lin to share his favorite sport. He holds up a soccer ball, but doesn't say a word. "Wow, a new classmate," says Mom after school. "Did you make him feel welcome?" "I tried," said Amy, "but I don't know if I did." Just then, Lin's dad arrives with Lin's little sister. Lin's face lights up. He giggles and chatters in Chinese. His sister giggles and chatters in Chinese too. This is a whole new Lin. Amy ponders the two Lins as she and her mom arrive at the store. She ponders while they buy dumpling skins. She ponders while they choose dumpling fillings. Amy's mom looks in their cart. "That's enough for our guests, don't you think?" And Amy's pondering becomes a brilliant plan. "Will it be enough for a few more?" she asks. At home, Amy's grandma helps her roll out a long sheet of paper. Amy chooses her favorite markers. Then Grandma writes the message while Amy says it aloud. She already knows the characters. Juan starts out soft like the hoot of an owl. Ying flies from her tongue like the ring of a bell. And Ni sounds a lot like Ni. Altogether, it means welcome. And welcome is exactly what Amy wants to say. Amy waits with her banner as the guests arrive. First come her parents' friends from work. Then come Amy's friends from school. And finally, there is Lin. Amy's hands tighten on her banner. She grins and opens her mouth. Then she shuts it again, and her cheeks glow red. Everyone is watching, but the words stick in Amy's throat. She thinks of the characters in her mind. Juan starts out soft like the hoot of an owl. Ying flies from her tongue like the ring of a bell, and Ni sounds a lot like Ni. But she can't say them no matter how hard she tries. A finger taps on her shoulder. Lynn points to the table where the grown-ups are making dumplings. He doesn't say anything, but Amy understands. Lynn makes a dumpling shaped like a little boat. Amy makes a dumpling shaped like a little purse. Boat, 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 purse, purse, purse. Together, their dumplings tumble into the pot. The boats float beside the purses, and the purses float beside the boats. Everyone eats dumplings until they can't eat another bite. It's time for Lynn to go home. Amy sees her banner. She takes a deep breath. Juan starts out soft like the hoot of an owl. Ying flies from her tongue like the ring of a bell, and Ni sounds a lot like Ni. Amy's family laughs. Silly goose, they say. Welcome is for the beginning of a party, not the end. But Amy knows better. It's never too late for a welcome. The end. This story reminds us that it isn't easy being a new person, and it's not easy to be truly welcoming. Together, let us consider how to be open to the First UU folks who may be newer to us and strive to create space for those we have yet to meet. Now, let us remain seated with hands over our hearts as we sing Morning Has Come, number 397 in your gray hymnal, to sing our beloved children back to their families and out to class.
Morning has come, night is away. Rise with the sun and welcome the day. Morning has come, night is away. Rise with the sun and welcome the day.
To have any number of lay people who help lead this congregation, both within our walls and without. And so this morning, we're going to welcome and commission our new board members and leaders and officers of the church. So will you please come forward and stand here? Don't be shy. The relationship between a board and congregation is one of deep respect and mutual regard. You have asked them to take on the holy work of discernment and guidance. They need you to support them in their work, share ideas and concerns in love, and to offer them trust as they fulfill their office faithfully. The work of the church is the work of the people. It is the work of building the world of which we dream. It may require time spent poring over budget sheets, hours spent in meetings where small details are hashed out. It may manifest in shared laughter or outright frustration from time to time, but always it is sacred, for it is in pursuit of beloved community. Service is an act of faith. Service done faithfully in love is the work of justice and community building. This is what you have asked these people before you to do, that they serve you faithfully and well. To do this, they need your trust and your support. So I now ask the members of the congregation, will you offer love and trust to your board, responding when they seek your input, showing up when they tell you that work needs to be shared, and listening carefully when they speak of the life of the church? If so, please respond, we will. We will. Right. Thank you for your service. You can be seated. And for those who lead us outside of the walls of this congregation, we participate in a program called BREAD, which stands for Building Responsibility, Equality, and Dignity, a community organization of over 40 diverse Central Ohio religious communities. BREAD holds local officials accountable for addressing community problems through the power of organizing people. As our church year begins, part of our work for justice is to join in Bread's fall listening process. This keeps Bread's justice work grounded in the actual experience of community problems in all of our congregations. So our First UU Bread team plans our congregation's part in the fall listening process, and so I'd like to ask the members of the Bread team to stand, please, if you are here. Thank you. Over the next few weeks, these members of First UU's Bread team will be inviting you to listening sessions, small group meetings, where you'll share your stories about the problems that matter most to you. A listening session is a chance to have meaningful conversation with First UU people to help guide Bread's work and to build our people power. We encourage you to say yes when the invitation comes to you. And so now let us join in unison to commission our Bread team. We now commission you, not as our representatives, but as leaders among us in the work of making life in our city more just for all. Thank you so much for your leadership. And First UU shares the offering that we receive each Sunday with local organizations that are doing the work of justice in the community. Our Share the Plate recipient for September is the League of Women Voters, a nonpartisan grassroots organization working to protect and expand voting rights and ensure everyone is represented in our democracy. We empower voters and defend democracy through advocacy, education, and litigation at the local, state, and national levels. Our local League of Women Voters has been one of Democracy and Human Rights Focus Group's main partners for voter registration, which we really need right now, right? So I ask you to be generous as we receive the morning's offering.
Our pastoral care listener today is Sharon Hammersley, who's right here in the middle. If you have something on your mind or heart, Sharon would be happy to talk with you. You can find her in Beach Hall after the service. And today, like every Sunday, we have some joys and also some sorrows to hold together as a community. We send our love and sympathy to the family of Eunice Lovejoy, who passed away on September 2nd in Prescott, Arizona. Eunice and her family, her husband Albert, sons Ed, David, and Stephen, had been longtime members of this church. Andy Macharski, our engagement and hospitality manager, had a heart attack on Tuesday and had an operation to implant a stent. She's facing further procedures in the future and right now is home but needs to be resting, so we ask that you don't try to get in touch at this time. There will be a card at our caring table and information on how you can join a meal train for her. We send our love and thoughts to Andy and her family. Carl Yaffe had tongue surgery this past Thursday at the James. It went well, but final results may be a few weeks coming. And we send our loving thoughts to the whole community of Springfield, Ohio, which is experiencing extremes of hate and xenophobia. Congratulations to Jock Angelino for his appearance on ABC News 6 on Tuesday, which highlighted his work helping individuals with food insecurity. We thank him also for his dedication in organizing and distributing 149 backpacks full of school supplies that have been distributed all over Franklin County. Jock wishes to thank all of you who participated in filling those backpacks. Karen Timmies turns 80 today, September 15th. So happy birthday, Karen. May we hold all of that in our hearts. I invite you to join me in a time of meditation and contemplation. A time to listen, to breathe, to tune into self and to the larger whole. Beginning by noticing how you are, really. How it feels to inhabit this shared space and time. How it feels to live in your skin right now. Simply noticing what is moving inside you, whatever ease or discomfort, whatever heartbreak, fear or curiosity, whatever longing, whatever joy. All the coming and going, the rise and fall of feeling and sensation, the fullness of this moment. All that is moving through the vast open space that is you. Welcome it all, implored the poet. Every new arrival, every piece of who you are, every teacher. Embrace every bit and push nothing away. In this time of shared silence, may we honor what emerges. All of it, and all of it, all of you is welcome. Spirit of life, may we honor our multitudes, inviting ourselves and each other to be full and complex and beautiful. May we keep making room, keep practicing our welcome, keep loving and listening and learning as we live into a world where everyone can be known and loved and everyone can belong. May we start right here.
Good morning. My name is Claire Freed, and it's such a joy for me to be on our worship committee as well as serve as a worship associate. I'm a 75-year-old woman, white woman, with blonde hair. I have brown glasses, and I'm wearing a green and brown shirt and tan pants. Our reading today is an excerpt from I Call That Church Free by James Luther Adams. I call that church free which enters into covenant with the ground of freedom, that sustaining, transforming power not made with hands. It protests against the idolatry of any human claim to absolute truth or authority. I call that church free, which liberates from bondage to the principalities and powers of the world, whether churchly or secular, and which promotes the continuing reformation of its own and other institutions. It protests against routine conformity or thoughtless nonconformity that lead to deformity of mind and heart and community. I call that church free, which in charity promotes freedom in fellowship, seeking unity in diversity. I call that church free, which responds in responsibility in the spirit that bloweth where it listeth. The tide of the Spirit finds utterance ever and again through a minority. It invites and engenders liberation from repression and exploitation, whether of nation or economic system, of race, sex, or class. It bursts through rigid, cramping inheritance, giving rise to a new language, to new forms of cooperation, to new and broader fellowship. The Church of the Spirit is a pilgrim church on adventure. I call that church free, which is not bound to the present, which cowers not before the vaunted spirit of the times. It earns and creates a tradition binding together past, present, and future in a living tether, in a continuing covenant and identity, bringing forth treasures, both new and old.
Thank you, Claire. I invite you to stay seated as we sing our meditative hymn, number 370 in your gray hymnal.
All people that on earth do dwell, sing ye aloud with cheerful voice. Let hearts in exhortation swell. Come now together and rejoice. Oh, welcome in this day with praise. Approach with joy your God unto. Give thanks and faith proclaim always. For it is seemly so to do. For we believe that life is good, love doth abide forevermore, truth firmer than a rock hath stood, and shall from age to age endure.
Some of you know that while I do call myself a theist, The God that I believe in is not the God that manipulates the world in my favor. There's so much wrong, in my view, with that kind of theology that thinks that if you just pray hard enough, God will grant your wishes. Because what happens when your wishes aren't granted? It becomes your fault for not praying enough or not having the right faith or whatever failing it is that made God decide to blow you off. But sometimes things happen, which make me wonder whether there is some kind of power in the universe that's trying to send me a message. Yesterday morning, I was driving with my dogs to the park when I ran over one of those metal plates that they put down in construction zones, and it caught in such a way that it shredded both of my right tires. And I do mean shreds. So I pulled into the nearest parking lot to call for a tow truck, and then I started to think, what am I going to do with my dogs? They're probably not going to be welcome into a tow truck or at the car dealership. Any of you who know my excitable dogs understand why that would be the case. So luckily, I have this dear friend and colleague, Meg McGuire, who happens to know my dogs pretty well and who was willing to come out early on a Saturday morning with her lovely wife, Paige, to pick up my dogs and take them to my house while I was having to deal with my car. An act of great generosity and, in fact, a great act of hospitality for being willing to welcome my dogs into your car. When I got to the dealership, I was told that it was unlikely that my tires would be in stock, but I needed to wait until they could assess that. So I waited and waited. I hadn't had breakfast yet and was getting hangrier and hangrier. Another woman who wasn't having a very good morning came up to me and said, "You don't know me from Adam. I know I'm a stranger to you. You may just want to ignore me, but it looks like you could use some breakfast." Did I have it written on my face? She said, "I have a borrowed car that I came here in, and I'd be happy to go and get you something to eat." I was flabbergasted and started to Google in my phone for something that was close by that I could order from. "There's a Subway across the way," I said, and she said, "Is that really what you want? I can go anywhere." I just could not believe this woman's generosity. Her name was Dawn, I discovered, and I couldn't bring myself to take too much advantage of her, so I did in fact order from Subway. And when she came back with my food, I told her, "You need to know that I'm a minister, and tomorrow I'm going to be preaching about radical hospitality." "You just wrote my sermon for me." And she pointed up to the sky and said, "Someone is watching." And I almost believed her. You may wonder why I call this a hospitable act, because I wasn't in her home, but she created a sense of home between us when she made this generous offer. Because radical hospitality isn't about just being friendly when it's easy, with people that you mainly know. It's about offering a gift of love, even when it's hard, even when it's inconvenient, when you don't have to. This woman is black, and while that shouldn't matter, but in today's world of racial division, it would have been understandable if she didn't want to reach out to me, a white woman. And yet she went out of her way to be radically hospitable. When I think about times in my life when I've experienced radical hospitality, I have to say that the instances that come to mind haven't necessarily been in a UU church. It's been at times when I am in a strange place with people who are different from myself, who extend to me a gift that I never would have expected. A few years ago, I experienced this right after the horrific shooting at the Tree of Life congregation in Pittsburgh. I was serving our church in Arlington, Virginia at the time, and members of my congregation, like many other congregations, were invited to attend a vigil at a prominent temple in town, Temple Rodef Shalom. We were among over 2,000 people of every faith and every background, and it was lovely to see so many neighbors show up this way. But what impressed me the most was the kind of hospitality that the leaders of the temple showed us. We were greeted outside and inside by members of their board and other leaders in the congregation, and they made sure that we knew we were welcomed. That shouldn't have been a surprise, but given all the reasons that Jewish people have to be suspicious and fearful of strangers, it seemed a remarkable gesture to me. The first words spoken by one of the rabbis on the bima were to relate the Midrash about Abraham and Sarah, in which it is said that Abraham's tent had doors on all four sides so that anyone would feel welcome. One of the central messages of the Abrahamic religions is the imperative to welcome and to care for the stranger, that strangers can, in fact, bring unexpected blessings. Entertaining strangers is, in effect, entertaining angels unawares. It is easy these days to assume that strangers are the opposite of angels. The stranger that came into the Tree of Life synagogue was an angel of one kind only, an angel of death. But this community also distributed material that cautioned everyone against using security as a cover for racial or cultural profiling. Even in their cautiousness, they exemplified hospitality. I think it takes a special kind of spiritual rootedness to bring this kind of open welcome to the world, even when persecution has been the experience. Radical hospitality is not just about welcoming in, it also requires us to go out into the community and learn more about the people who surround us. The whole model of the Bread Project that we talked about today is about creating coalitions across religious, cultural, and economic divides. I'm sure the Bread leadership team that we commissioned here today can all tell you remarkable stories about the things that they have learned in conversation with our neighbors. I learned a more particular story about this from Barb and Bill Fiorini, who are here. Barb and Bill make it a point to grasp every opportunity that comes their way to meet people who are different from themselves. So when we were invited by the Turkish American Society to participate in their Ramadan iftar dinners last year, Barb and Bill jumped on the opportunity. They were effusively welcomed in by people garbed in traditional robes and headscarves, and the food and the traditions were carefully explained. Barb has become such good friends with the women that she met there that she was invited to a henna party for one of the young women that was getting married. They reciprocated by inviting their new friends to their home for a traditional ravioli meal. And when I think about the times that I've experienced the greatest sense of hospitality, it has been when I have traveled to countries radically different from this one. I've been to India, Turkey, Palestine, and despite our religious and cultural differences, I have been welcomed into people's homes as though I was royalty, given gifts and the best food that they could prepare. I'm not sure that many of us offer that kind of hospitality to those who visit our country. And in fact, many who come here face xenophobic, racist, and sometimes violent attacks, just as we have seen, unfortunately, in Springfield, Ohio. There are violent effects of painting immigrants as others who are dangerous. But in reality, it is the promise that immigrants hold for us that could be the saving of our nation, and the persecution and belittling of them that leads us to destruction of the values that we hold dear. My colleague Mary Catherine Moore, and the president of the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee, put it well. She said, when people defy persecution and injustice by seeking asylum across borders, they are defending the human rights and dignity that we would all wish for ourselves and our loved ones. Refugees, migrants, and asylum seekers are not a threat. They are a spiritual gift to a nation that has too often lost sight of its own humanity. If only our senator and vice presidential candidate could hear such words and maybe learn to believe them. Our deepest religious values call upon us to see every human being as having inherent worth, and our compassion calls upon us to feel all human suffering as if it were our own. Seeing and valuing every human person as part of the human family that we are connected to is something that we all aspire to. But sometimes seeking just the common connection of all people can lead us to devalue or overlook the power and gift of difference. This is the real challenge of what it means to be an American, or indeed to be a citizen of the world, to affirm our common humanity at the same time that we can respect our inherent differences. This is the heart of our understanding of what it is to be Unitarian Universalists, that it is possible to build community among and with those that hold different particular beliefs, different perspectives, and together to affirm and respect all of us in our differences, not forcing everyone into a false sameness. And indeed, we do come from diverse backgrounds and beliefs, and we do create community. But I want to ask us, how much difference do we really allow among us? Someone from the outside looking in would see a lot of homogeneity in most Unitarian Universalist congregations. In today's fractured and fractious world, many of us come here because we desperately need community, a community that even if we don't agree on all things, can at least affirm common values. But is it possible that in our desperation for someplace safe, we close the door behind us as we come in? At the heart of my understanding of the mission and purpose of Unitarian Universalism is a challenging notion that we are not just about creating a kind of substitute family or automatic opportunities for friendships we can't find elsewhere. That feeling of lasting connection may come, and that's all for the good, but it's not our primary purpose. I understand our purpose is a need to put ourselves in relationship to something larger than ourselves, to find some meaning that comes to us not just through the known and the comfortable, but often most profoundly through the unknown. We confront our deepest selves and our notions about others through interactions with strangers as well as with friends. So how do we go about doing this? What are the spiritual muscles we need to develop to provide radical hospitality? The other synchronous thing that happened to me this week was coming across a podcast about, you guessed it, radical hospitality. It features a good friend of mine, the Reverend Alicia Ford, who leads our international office at the UUA, in dialogue with several others. Alicia talked about how hospitality begins with ourselves, as we heard from the poet Rumi in our opening words, to be open even to the difficult things within us that we may not want to experience. And our lives in community need the same kind of realization. Those things that make us uncomfortable are often the things that we must learn from. To be hospitable, they said, was to learn to be open, to be curious, to ask questions rather than think that we have the answers, to take the time to slow down and really listen, to be willing to be knocked off course in our blind need to move forward and instead to stop and pay attention, to become attuned to a new rhythm, a rhythm that we don't already know, to be open to change when it becomes clear that we are moving in a sea of sameness. To ask this of ourselves right now is a really challenging thing to do. As I said last week, it is tempting to just hunker down and wait to see what will happen in the next few months. But James Luther Adams reminds us that freedom is not something that comes to us. It is something that we make through diligent effort toward openness. As he said, I call that church free which responds in responsibility to the Spirit that bloweth where it listeth. The tide of the Spirit finds utterance ever and again through a minority. It invites and engenders liberation from repression and exploitation, whether of nation or economic system or race or sex or class. It bursts through rigid, cramping inheritance, giving rise to new language, new forms of cooperation, to new and broader fellowship. The Church of the Spirit is a pilgrim church on adventure. So let us set forth on this adventure together, an adventure of hospitality, of openness, and of love. So may it be. And I invite you to stand and join us in hymn number 1018, found in your teal hymnal.
To that land, come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land where I'm bound. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land where I'm bound. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land where I'm bound. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land where I'm bound.
Please take the hand of someone close to you or place your hand on your heart. The worship of the gathered community is now ended. Go in peace, go in joy, go in love, to share in the ongoing worship of the community in dispersion. Carry with you what is precious to us all: reverence for all life, beauty that displays itself in love, and a deep and abiding peace. And now let us extinguish our chalice together with these words on your screen. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of vision. As we go forth, let us heal and transform ourselves and our world through reason and love.